Hi, my name is Lauren Thomas, and I did my final project on Unit 4, Bonding, Formulas, and Nomenclature. Determining between ionic, covalent, and metallic bonds are like this. Ionic is a valence electrons between two opposite charged ions and are transmitted evenly. And you can see cations, anions, metals and nonmetals, plus, minus, positive, negative. And covalent bonding is electrons that are shared between atoms, and they are nonmetals. And metallic bonding is electrons that are shared around atoms, and they are both the same bond with metal and metal. And they can be lustrous, shiny conductors of heat, and malleable, and so on and so on. Lewis dot structure. First, you count the valence, then connect the atoms around the central atom by a single bond. Then you put the remaining electrons on the outside atoms to fulfill octet rule. And lastly, place the remaining atoms on the central atom. And so this is an example. And so you take your first step, count the valences, and then the red dots are what you add. So first you start out with the six electrons, 2, 4, 6, and then you add 2 each time. Not add 2, but just multiply each time until you get to your 26. Ionic compounds form from metals and nonmetals and transfer electrons between elements. And the formula can be found by switching the charges of the two elements. Like, for example, magnesium 2 and nitrogen 3 can be transformed to magnesium 3, nitrogen 2. And covalent formulas are composed of 2 numbers of each atoms using the prefixes mono, di, tri, penta, hexa, and etc. And end with the suffix I. The first element doesn't use mono if there's only one element or atom. And for example, oxygen fluoride 2 would become oxygen difluoride, and nitrogen oxide would become dinitrogen monoxide. Organic compounds. An organic compound is a chemical compound with one or more atoms of carbon or are covalently linked to other similar elements, starting with carbon, hydrogen, and for example, like hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And an empirical formula is the simplest form of a compound, and a molecular formula is the same as or a multiple of the empirical formula, and is based on the actual number of atoms in each compound. For example, carbon 3 hydrogen 8 grams per mole would be the carbon 3 hydrogen 8 multiplied would be carbon 6 hydrogen 18, and then you could multiply on and on and on. You would use the chemical formula to determine the name of each atom and the compound. Multiply the atomic weight by the number of atoms in each compound, and you can find these numbers from the periodic table. And for example, say you have one atom times 23 grams per mole of nitrogen plus one atom of 35.5 grams per mole of chlorine together, added together will be 58.5 grams per mole of nitrogen chloride. And this is a picture of bonding, Lewis dot structure, and these are just bonding formulas all written down. And my name.